Hey everyone, it's Patch 3.22 Ancestor, and welcome to Allie's Cooking Lab. Today we're going to be talking about a new strategy that I've come up with that is honestly quite innovative, as it uses a lot of things that we've learned from previous farming strategies and putting them together into a really nice, compact way of basically doing Alch and Go for quite a lot of profits. Today we're going to be talking about a strategy that is going to involve expedition, harvest, and altar farming together. And it's a strategy that you can immediately do from day one, assuming you could rush tier 16 maps on day one and make quite a lot of money with it. This strategy is going to be really nice because there's no sextants, there's no scarabs, there's nothing you need. There is going to be an option to put in scarabs later on if you want to, but it's going to be nice because we're going to be doing growing hordes, so you don't actually need to buy any sort of specific scarab. You just buy a mass bulk of whatever you want and slap them in for extra pack size. So why don't we get into the trees, talk about the strategy and why it's going to potentially be so good. So the first thing that we want to talk about is a addition that's going to come back in 3.22, and that is Mausoleum. If you don't know why Mausoleum is so special, it's because of the boss. The boss doesn't actually technically count as existing, which means if we were to do a strategy that revolves around altars and we don't care about any of the boss specific altar mods, then we should really do it on Mausoleum to get the map modifier altar points and to get the Eldritch minion points. And because of that, and because we're trying to stack a lot of quantity, because Harvest and Expedition really like quantity, doing blue altars on Mausoleum is going to be great because blue altars, the majority of the time, will give you extra quantity and rarity, which is going to really juice up our other mechanics. Now, I do want to put a disclaimer in here, and this is the only thing I cannot tell you about the strategy until a day or two before the season comes out, is we do not know what tier Mausoleum is going to be by default. The strategy is going to assume that you get 2 watch zones, and it's going to assume you get the majority of your points in terms of your Atlas progression. But if Mausoleum ends up being a low tier map, if it's like a tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 map, 2 watch zones will not be enough to get Mausoleum to a tier 16 map naturally. Now we're going to really hope that a Mausoleum is going to be at least a tier 9 or higher map, which effectively gives it a 50-50 chance of it being so. And with that happening, 2 watch zones should be enough to get a tier 16. But again, we're going to have to see what happens at the start of the season and when all the map tiers get released. I will put a pinned comment and I will change the description as soon as we know this information to know if this is going to be a problem or not. But it's a really easy workaround. All you're going to need to do is get a 3rd watch zone or potentially a 4th watch zone to be able to do this, as we really don't want to do strategy on anything but Mausoleum. If you do need a 3rd or 4th, I would really recommend just buy carry from Maven or Uber Elder, unless you can do them yourself. But we're just going to hope that it's not going to have to come down to that. And we're going to be able to do the strategy with just the 2 watch zones that you're going to get from Eater of Worlds and Exarch from just doing your progression normally. So speaking of progression, how are we going to actually get all the points for this at the start of the season? Well, there are going to be 2 PoE planners in the description below. One is going to be this tree right here, which is going to be all about progressing as fast as possible. And then the other tree is going to be the actual strategy itself. Let's talk about this tree first and how to progress through it. So what we're going to be doing here is abusing all the adjacent map drop chance nodes to get a guaranteed chance for a monster in our maps to give us a connected map. Meaning we'll basically always have a new map to do that we haven't completed yet, making our progression really fast and making us be able to get all of our points really quickly, since we're going to want the majority of our points for strategy. We're also then going to be using maps have an 80% chance to be 1 tier higher, which means if we somehow get bad luck and we don't actually get a connected map, the chance of us getting a new map that we haven't done yet, that is a higher tier, is going to be pretty high. We also have quite a nice chance for Kirak missions, meaning that if we somehow get stuck at the end, we could always do a Kirak mission to potentially get a new map and to reset a shop. The way you're going to progress this tree is you're going to start in the middle and immediately puff up the left or the right. You can choose which one, but don't do both. You're then going to pick up all the Kirak nodes to get a bunch of Kirak map chance. And then we're going to be picking up all of the points in this big circle, with the exception of what the 2 keystones. It doesn't matter which one. You can either take bold undertakings or overloaded circuits. We just want to use it as a pathing towards the middle of the tree, but neither of these keystones are going to do anything for us. Then we pick up 7th gate, which is nice because we'll be wanting it later. And then we'll be making our way to Wandering Path. As soon as we have Wandering Path, you'll go and pick up all these nodes here. Now, I'd really recommend on the right side to pick up all the adjacent map drop chance nodes that I have here, as most of these we're going to be actually keeping for when we're respecking our tree over to the actual tree. So save you on regrets. And by the time you get to tier 16 maps, you should get a few unmakings to drop. You should get a few regals to drop. You can convert all your regrets over to unmakings. And then between those and then the few respecs that you get for free, you should be able to respec all of these other random points away. And then you might need to buy 1 or 2 unmakings to be able to make the final changes. Once you're in tier 16 maps and once you have your 2 watch zones, we can start talking about the strategy. Now, I wouldn't immediately stop in tier 16 maps. I would do basically all of your completion. And this tree is for 131 points. Now, I'm not going to assume you're going to get 131 points the first week of the season because that's going to involve you doing all of the bosses. It's going to involve you doing all of the special Maven encounters. I'm going to assume you're going to get maybe around 120 points or so, but it's pretty easy to trim 10 points off of this to make it work for however many points you have. But you're going to need at least about 120 at the minimum, which should be basically every single map and every single unique map, minus all the Maven challenges. In order to trim this down a little bit if we need to, we can always get rid of the extra content nodes over here. We can always get rid of the quantity nodes in the middle. We can always potentially just drop a big node that isn't really too impactful. And we can always potentially just drop singular focus if we do not have enough favorited slots. Moving on, let's talk about the tree and the choices we have made in this tree and why we're doing everything we're doing. So the first thing to mention is going to be the main juice of our farming strategy. We are going to be doing mausoleums. And again, since we are going to be farming quantity, we're going to be wanting to put harvest and expedition on here. Now, because we're going to do this as an Alch and Go strategy that's not going to require any scarabs or any sextants, we need to pick up all the chances for the content to actually show up. So because of that, we're going to be blocking a bunch of content over here on the right. That's going to give us a base 10% chance to see additional expeditions, additional harvest. And then by picking up all of the additional chances for both expedition and harvest, we can have a 48 or 58 with the block nodes chance for an expedition. And then we'll have a 45 or 55 chance for a harvest with all the block nodes. This means that you have a 50% chance to at least see one of the two in your maps. I believe it works out to somewhere around 70% chance to always see at least something. So the majority of the time, all of that quantity you're going to be farming for blue altars is going to immediately go into juicing up one of the two mechanics. And even if you don't get anything, the altars themselves will give you quite a lot of loot and you'll have quite a lot of quantity. So the map itself should still give you quite a few chaos in return. And we're going to be using a new keystone called 7th Gate to always make sure we pretty much profit on every single map we do. Now, what 7th Gate is going to do is it's going to give us every single league map crafting option available, assuming we have all three of the gateway pairs picked. Now, this isn't really too bad because our tree is actually going to be pathing by all of them. And the only one that's going to be bad to get is this one, which is going to cost us a few points. But overall, it's only going to cost us 9 extra points to have access to literally any mechanic we want. Now, this season, the mechanics on the map device aren't really too good. And in my opinion, for this strategy, what we want to do is we want to pick this up to then either get free strongboxes or free harbingers on the map. You could do other mechanics, but I feel like strongboxes or harbingers are going to be the strongest too. And in this path of building, we have all of the box nodes taken, but you're more than free to drop everything strongbox related and pick harbingers up instead if you prefer to do harbingers instead of strongboxes. With this, and especially with strongboxes, we're guaranteed to make a few chaos every single map. And the boxes themselves are going to be really nice, especially since we get quite a lot of operatives, since operatives is still in the game and has not been nerfed at all. And those scarabs should basically be paying for the crafting fee, plus actually be a decent chunk of your total profit. I think you'll be making somewhere around maybe 20-ish% of your profit in total, just from boxes and just from scarabs in general. The other few nodes that we're picking up here are just really, really strong nodes in general. If we want to talk about the harvest ones, we're just picking up everything harvest related that is good. Now, one controversy here is on how to pick these up. Personally, I don't feel like picking up 2 of the droughts is good. Back from when we were doing tormented scarab farming, it very much seemed like having 2 of these didn't actually make a difference. And from hundreds and hundreds of maps, the average juice that we were getting and the average yellow plants that we're getting seemed to basically be the same. If you had 1 drought or 2 droughts, they're only going to be picking up 1 of them. As for the rest of the tree, we're just going to be picking up everything harvest really. Now, some people like to do Wandering Path harvest, but personally, I don't feel like it's worth it, especially if we want to leverage 7th Gate, because then we're going to be losing out on operatives and then we're going to be losing out on tamper-proof. As for expedition, the biggest change here from a default expedition setup is going to be using extreme archaeology. Now, what this is going to do is it's going to only give you 1 explosive, but it's going to be absolutely massive. This means that you are just going to immediately blow up basically 90% of the expedition. And the nice thing about this is all of the remnants will apply to every single chest and every single monster at the same time, which means this is actually basically the best way to actually do expedition now, because you will not have your first few explosions not really benefit from the good remnants, while only your end explosions being the ones that benefit from all the good remnants. This makes it so everything affects it. But the only downside to this is you might have a really bad remnant right in the middle of your expedition. meaning that you might get completely bricked if that's something that your build can't do. And you might have to like put it to the side, which might be a little bit awkward. It might not be ideal, but majority of the time, this should be a net positive and overall make your expedition substantially faster since you won't have to wait for the explosions and you just get to AoE down everything at once. As for the other important thing here to mention, now this is a personal preference and you can choose this. You can change this however you like. We're going to be picking up the node that gives us more Danning and the node that gives us more Trugen, as these are typically the two best ones at the start of the season. But you can also choose to pick up Gwen if you really want to do some gambling, or Rog if you want to do some Rog crafting instead of Trugen. I would always pick up Danning since Danning is just way too good not to take. And if you really want to, for example, you could do something like this where you pick up Rog and Trugen to just have an equal chance for both without really seeing too much Gwen. You can mix and match these nodes as much as you want for exactly what you need from Expedition. Outside of that, the last thing to mention in this tree is going to be another new keystone, All Hands. This is going to make it so we now have a 50% chance to see a master mission in each map. We have a base 10% chance. It's going to give us another 40% chance, but it's going to make it so we don't get master missions when we complete the maps, which is going to be completely okay. The other thing this is going to change is that anything that we have that gives us a chance to see a master mission on map completion is instead going to give us a chance to see that master at 150% of value. And because of that, we can pick up mining partnership, which makes it so Niko has a 100% chance to show up over the other masters. And it doubles the chance of us getting a Niko mission at the end of our map, which then becomes 150% increased chance for us to just see Niko, which means most of the time we will be seeing Niko as our master over everything else, which will have a 50% chance to show up. With Niko, what we could do is we can use Niko Tech. If you've never used Pack with Energy, this is an amazing node, and it's only 2 points to pick it up. This is going to give us max res every time we click a sulfite vein. It's going to give us damage, and it's going to give us movement speed. By the end of the map, you'll be 45% faster, meaning your map's going to be completed really, really fast. And you're going to want to prioritize picking up all of these. The other really nice thing for 3 points that we could do is pick up mining byproducts. Now, sulfite scales with quantity, which we're going to be getting quite a lot of from blue altars. And because we have a lot of quantity, that means when the 10% chance for mining byproducts procs, we're going to get quite a lot of free azurite, meaning if this ever procs, which you have a 10% chance to do, you'll basically be making around 10 to 20 chaos in resonators that you can cash in from Delve at any point you want. Basically making Niko not only make us do maps faster, which is effectively more money per hour, but also directly contributing to us by sometimes giving us quite a lot of money. That's really all there is to say for the tree. As I mentioned, you can trim a little bit of fat to make this tree work, but I'm going to put all the points here, just assuming you want to do the strategy later on in the season. Now, the next thing to talk about is the setup itself. How are we going to actually be doing these maps? Well, it's going to be very, very simple. All we're going to be doing is taking our mausoleums, we're going to be chiseling them to 100%, and then we are just going to be alching them. And then the only thing you need to do from this point is simply just roll off any maps that you can't do. Ideally, you might want to try to roll these maps a little bit for pack size. Try to go for maybe around 25% pack size if you can, as pack size was going to massively scale both expedition and harvest. But around 25% pack size and a decent amount of quantity is good if you want to put a little bit of effort into rolling your maps. But if you don't, just simply chisel and alching will be more than good enough. Then we're just going to go to our map device, put it in here. And because we will have 7th gate, that means next season we'll have the ambush option always available. We're just going to put ambush on our map and just hit activate. There's literally nothing else needed to do for this map. Now, another option that you could do if you want to put a little bit more juice into your maps is to instead also pick up growing hordes. This is going to allow you to just put random scarabs into your maps. And this is going to give you pack size and quite a lot of it. I would honestly recommend to always do polished scarabs if you're going to do growing hordes. And this is going to give you a lot of pack size for harvest and expedition, which absolutely love pack size. Each 1% pack size can effectively be seen as 1% more harvest and 1% more expedition monsters, as the monsters actually scale very linearly. The way pack size interacts with these is if you have a 50% increased pack size on the map, that means every single monster in harvest and expedition have a 50% chance to be duplicated. If you have 100% pack size, that means every time you summon a harvest or expedition monster, you just get 2 copies of it, making pack size really nice just because it's scaled linearly and because it'll just give you overall more drops from the rest of your map as well, making this a really, really good addition. And it should always pay for itself just from the harvest juice alone. And then the rest of it should just be pure profit. If you don't want to do that, this is going to be more than fine. And there's nothing else you need to put in here. And you're just going to simply activate and just go run your map. Now, the way you're going to be wanting to do these maps is pretty simple. You're going to be wanting to run around the whole mausoleum. The nice thing about Mausoleum, not only does the boss not spawn, but it's one of the best layouts in the game. It's amazing. It's just 2 squares. making it very easy to clear. You can clear as a figure 8. You can clear it as a giant swirl. It's up to you. Pick your favorite way of clearing Mausoleum. It's just a really comfy map with no backtracking required at any point. What we're going to do in our maps is we're going to go through, we're going to be clicking on all the sulfite veins. Ideally, if you want to make a little bit of money, you don't click the sulfite veins until the end. Because you want all the altars to spawn, you're going to be immediately picking up the quantity option on every single altar, as quantity is our main way of making money in this. If you don't care about making mining byproducts slightly better, which I honestly don't feel like it's worth min-maxing, just pick up your sulfite veins as well as you run through the map, pick up your altars, and then once you have cleared the whole map, you then are going to do your expedition and your harvest. Do not do it beforehand. You do want to backtrack to them because you really need to get all of that quantity from all of the altars before you do it, as it'll massively increase your profits per map that you do. Now, an option here is to kill the boss or not. Honestly, in my opinion, I don't feel like killing the boss in Mausoleum is worth it simply because it takes so much time and bosses really don't give much. Now, it will be worth it to go and kill it every time you have a invitation ready to pick up every 24th map, just to get your effectively get your free divine from the Eater Worlds invitation. But otherwise, it really wouldn't bother it, as the chance for Conqueror maps, the chance for Maven invitations, and the chance for all the other miscellaneous boss traps really just does not make it worth it for the amount of time the boss actually takes to spawn, since the Mausoleum boss is really, really slow. Once you've done your whole map, once you've clicked all of your altars, once you've clicked everything, then do your expedition harvest. You can do it in any order you want. It doesn't really matter. In the harvest, you want to always pick yellow plants. Always, always, always. Yellow plants are always the ones that are going to be worth the most. This might change at the start of a season where purple plants might be worth a little bit more. So please do your research and look at the prices of juice at the time and see which one is worth more. It's pretty much always going to be yellow, but again, just please do your research and don't just take my word for it, because things could change between seasons and prices are pretty volatile at the start. As for expeditions, you do have one big bomb, so you kind of can't really do much with it, but try to hit all of the remnants that give you extra chance for logbooks. Those are going to be where the majority of your profit comes from expedition. It's going to be the logbooks. It's going to be the expedition currency, mainly the Trojan reroll currency and anything Danning related to then be able to buy more Trojan reroll currency. And you're going to try to hit as many of the big runic monsters as possible, as those are the only things that can drop logbooks. Again, the explosion's basically going to hit the whole screen anyway. There really isn't too much finagling you could do here, but do try to look at the outskirts to see maybe you can set it up in a way that makes it a tiny little bit more profitable. Otherwise, once you're done, you just simply put all your loot away in your stash, you take out another map, and you just go again. It's a really simple strategy that should be very consistent, and it's pretty much guaranteed to make you some decent money. Now, it's a little bit hard for me to give you exact numbers on the profits, especially since prices are a little bit volatile at the start of a season. But from previous seasons of expedition farming and harvest farming at the start of the season, and especially since we have boxes in here, and if you get to do this strategy super early on at the prices of Ichors, you could expect anywhere between, I would say, 4 to 6 divine is a pretty conservative estimate. The majority of that being harvest juice, logbooks, and just the raw currency from both altars and from your Shang boxes. Overall, liquidating should be really easy because you're just going to be selling your juice and you're going to be selling your logbooks, or you can choose to save your logbooks. If you're a logbook enjoyer and if you know how to do logbooks, and if you enjoy running your logbooks, feel free to just keep them for yourselves for some additional profit. Otherwise, the other thing you should be on the lookout for is using your expedition currency. What I would recommend is to save all of your Trojan currency for yourself and to use it to reroll Trojan shop. On average, you will see divines pretty commonly. And if you get lucky, Trojan will sometimes offer 5 divines at once. I would recommend to mostly focus on picking up any chaos orbs you see and any stacked decks, as the stacked decks are going to be the majority of your profits, especially since there's a degenerate stacked deck strategy that has been created in the past season. So because of that, we can expect that stacked decks are going to be worth a pretty penny at the start of the season. Overall, if you do the strategy, I hope you have fun with it, and I hope it makes you quite a lot of money. If you have any questions on it, please feel free to leave your comments down below, or feel free to come by my stream on Twitch. I stream every single day, and I'll be more than happy to answer your questions there. I feel like this will be a really fun and easy strategy for anyone who doesn't want to put a lot of effort into their mapping while still making a decent amount of money at the same time. That's all I really have for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll see you cuties in the next video.